Right, we haven't finished the Inyan, so therefore we have to start from the beginning, but we already essentially started, we already discussed it. The line starts with the word dehinay nodah, approximately 1/3 from the bottom of the page involved. All right, dehinay nodah.
Connected to mobile device.
Oh, I didn't dial in.
Okay.
Disconnected.
Nice. Sorry.
Connected to mobile device.
That's not the same number, two different numbers. Yeah.
Welcome to IDT. Welcome. At the tone, please record your name followed by the pound key.
Paltiel.
Thank you. You are participant number 2.
Okay, once again, we are starting from the line that begins dehinay nodah. That's about 1/3 from the bottom of page involved. And at this point, the Rebbe just made a statement, so to speak, that that there is, in the certain Sefer Yitzirah, there is chakam binah. What is the meaning of chakam binah? That there is an element of chochmah within binah itself. And the Rebbe goes on to explain, just as in the statement, that an explanation comes first now, and it is that this is chochmah that actually is, it can relate to hasagah. And this is a perplexing thing, as we pointed out. How can chochmah relate to hasagah? Chochmah is the essential union that is beyond hasagah. And this is chakam binah. So the Rebbe explains, dehinay nodah, for it's known the inyan v'chakam binah hu bechinas nekudas atamtis. What is this chakam binah? This is what's called the aspect of nekudas atamtis. Translate, nekuda, the point that results, that draws towards the finale, so to speak. Ayin, which means to say, that after that there is hasagah, full comprehension, in full length, meaning in full description and layout of the inyan. We already have been exposed to the principle of hasagah. Pardon me. Hasagah, the word hasagah means grasp. In contrast to chochmah, which does not have the element of grasp. Chochmah, you simply relate and recognize the Inyan directly where it is in its own turf, so to speak, in its own domain. Like chochmah is like sight. You see, whatever you see, from wherever within the environment where that is. You don't take it to yourself. You see it where it is. If you take it to yourself, it's not sight anymore. Sight is when you see things in their own turf, in their own reality. This is chochmah. Hasagah means you grasp it. That means you take it to yourself. You give it your own parameters to it. This means hasagah. And this is why we say that hasagah brings about midas, because then it reflects itself in your personal behavior. So, hasagah, this is possible after arichus hasagah. Arichus havona, that you take the nekudas chochmah and you fully elaborate on it. What is the principle of arichus ha'inyan? The elongation of the inyan. Elongation of the inyan brings to mind the principle of a pathway. A pathway, as you pointed out, the pathway is under the entire globe and entire reality, but nevertheless a pathway. And one of the principles of the pathway, that it has a beginning and it has an end, and it has demarcations on both sides. That's a pathway. And these demarcations is what permit the element of hasagah. You have a means by which you can actually define it and grasp it and say, oh, this is exactly what it is. Once I start, I don't know when I'm going to finish. The arichus, like we say all the time, a pathway. A human being walking on a pathway is not walking on a pathway exclusively, as if there's something which exists on its own and it's completely narrowly defined and there is nothing else. A pathway, as we perceive it correctly, it is a pathway within, as part of the entire reality, the entire globe, the entire earth. We never walk on a pathway. We walk on a pathway from within the entire earth. This is the principle of seichel. When you see things from a truth perspective. So this, what is this pathway? What does it lead to? It has two aspects. There is the chochmah in it and there is the binah. The concept of it, that you're going from one place to the other. Now, the identification and the recognition that there are multiple places on earth, this is known within the chochmah itself. This is because of the infinity of the chochmah. And then, in binah, you begin to identify individual locations, individual spots. And the connection between these locations is called a pathway.
Can you just repeat, sorry, can you repeat this? I just didn't completely hear. Can you just repeat this what you just said?
I know, can you rewind?
I'm sorry.
A lot of noise.
Okay. I'm saying that when you're walking on a pathway, you're not walking exclusively on the pathway. You're walking on the reality of the earth itself. And the place that you're seeking is a place on the earth. It's a place that you identified before you started walking. Right? And when you identify it as such, you identify it as being part of the earth, not as an individual place. And then there is, so you already know the place, you're already there. But there is an element that's called getting there. This is called hasagah. The actual narrow relationship to this image. This is called hasagah. And the hasagah is through a process of a pathway, of a narrow a narrow lead. How do you get there? How come there is this place? How do you get there from this place to this place? You could say you can get there from this place to this place because they are both on the same earth. That is true mitzad the chochmah. But then to get there, which means in a much more narrow level, where you actually identify in both places, this is called hasagah. And that is accomplished via the concept of a derech, of a pathway. This is called hasagah. Hasagah means that you actually identify the parameters, you identify the boundaries. This is a phenomenal thing. You identify the boundaries of this Inyan. So if you identify the boundaries of this Inyan, then this Inyan is actually defined by its boundaries, not by its chochmah too. You have a roadway, the New York State Thruway, and it goes from Buffalo all the way to Montreal. What is New York State Thruway stand for? The connection of Buffalo and New Montreal. That's what it stands for. But there is a richer principle in this. Buffalo and Montreal are both a part of this continent. It is an interconnection within the unity of this continent itself. Except they identified a certain element of it. So that as you're traveling from Buffalo to Montreal, and you're going on the road, yes, you're going on the road, but you're still within the same continent, within the same reality. And therefore, understanding all the different locations that you have to pass through, that provides pieces of this highway. It's an interesting thing. It's a good example because the New York State Thruway, it's a federal road, but every location provided its own little addition to it. You pass through various cities. So, identifying all the various locations that you pass, saying, I'm here now, I'm here now, I'm here now. Yes, but this all leads to the conclusion. And at the end, what you realize is this. Yes, you have arrived at your destination, so to speak. But how did you arrive at the destination? You arrive at the destination by identifying the connection between this destination and the original place. Which means that there is an inherent unity between them. If there were no inherent unity, you would never have gotten to it, even though you went through these pathways. This is what the Rebbe says. Hasagah pertains to narrow identification of all the elements that can be drawn from the Torah. Because you're masik, and you really know it on a personal basis. However, as you're masik, you're not dissociating from the chochmah, from the overall truth, the overall reality. You're masik elements within this chochmah. And at the very end, when you reflect on the arichos ha'hesber, then you come to nekudas atamtis. What do you really realize over here? You realize a nekuda. And what is a nekuda? In our example, The nakuda is that actually both of these places are in the same place. That's what nakuda is. Even though you get there through various multiple roadways. So, here is Nekudas Hatam. So Rebbe explains what's Nekudas Hatam.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Before we go on, what does it mean they're in the same place?
Huh?
Huh? What?
What does it mean? What?
What does it mean they're in the same place?
You're on the same earth.
Oh.
You're not really moved away, but you not really dissociate from the reality where you were before. After the adichas husband, you first come to grips with the total reality, even though you went through various phases. You're not going to say that Montreal exists because of all these little places that you pass by. It's not true. It exists because it's a place on the earth. Even though getting there takes all of these different steps. The same thing is true in hasagah. Hasagah is the process of binah, understanding all the inyonim that substantiates, so to speak, the chochmah. But afterwards, you come to nekudas hatamtzis. One point that identifies the essential truth of the chochmah, which means to say, after having hasagah, barichus inyan, expanse of the inyan. Arichus means in the elongation of the inyan, which means you have identified a narrow pathway through which this inyan is developed. But then first it comes in a nakuda aspect, and the nakuda is eich. In this nakuda he recognizes how it is that she'etzem ho'inyan musog mikol ho'arichus, that the essential inyan, etzem ho'inyan, etzem is not a structure. Etzem is not something that you have to prove. Etzem is something which is real in itself. This essential inyan is musog kol harichus. It gets to be known and gets to be comprehended mikol harichus from the entire, as a result of this entire exposition. Shezehu hanakuda meha hasagah. This nakuda is the nakuda that comes from the hasagah. Nakudas ha-hasagah. Lei nakudas ha-haskolah. Not the nakuda of haskolah k'mei shekidemes la-hasagah. Not the haskolah k'mei shekidemes la-hasagah. As it precedes really the hasagah, the comprehension. To follow through on the illustration that we used, to start with, it's a very simple, almost an understatement, but nevertheless, to start with, when you go from place to place, you know to begin with that you're not going to leave the earth. You're going to go from one place to the earth. Even though it's at a great distance, but nevertheless, you are not prepared to leaving the earth. That this is where you're going to be. After you go through this distance and you travel through all the various their various stops and locations, then you realize how in fact it is connected. How do you get from this place to this place? It's connected by passing through all of these towns and townlets and so on. This connection, which is called Nekudas hasagah, where you actually recognize, see in hasagah how these two places are connected. Nekudas haskola is on a different level, so you don't need proof that they're connected. But that's the reality itself. They're on the same earth. Nekudas haskola is where these two things are actually connecting. Nekudas haskola is where these two things are actually one. They're not connected.
Is it hasagah comes after the experience?
No, you mean travel is experience. The proper way, the proper motion will be not the driving, but plotting out the road, plotting out the path on the map.
Drawing?
Huh? Yeah, identifying on the map. How am I going to get there? I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here.
It's some kind of experience.
It's not an experience. You're in the same place. You take a map and you plot your route. And it's clear to you how you're going to get there. The experience comes later. When you have a clarity how you're going to get there, then you sit down and say, okay, let's go and travel. Before you have that clarity, where are you going? Well, it's on the same earth. Yeah, okay. So go find it.
Nowadays there's GPS.
GPS, right. That's exactly right. GPS is because it's a hasagah. Looks down and says, I don't see any problem here. Everything that develops in the world is definitely emotional for Chassidus. And in the fact that GPS functions because of this principle. That it sees both locations at the same moment. And it connects them. All right, let's continue. So the Rebbe is just insisting that we recognize the difference between the Nekuda meha hasagah and the Nekuda haskola. K'mishikidemes hasagah. The Nekuda haskola is that which precedes hasagah. It's a different level, a different purity, different level of Nekuda. Nekuda haskola is not substantiated and it doesn't require substantiation. Whereas Nekuda hasagah is substantiated and it requires substantiation, but it's fully substantiated. Then that's when it becomes a Nekuda, where it's clear. V'hu gamkein, this too is mashabo mibchinas hovein b'chochmah. How can there be this union, this truth of chochmah? This is actually in binah, sensing an element that's called chochmah, chakam bebinah. Chakam bebinah, essentially, I mean, I'm trying to say, I hope I'm not losing it, that after that you have the entire perspective, the entire arichas ha'asbara, you you actually realize that in a very real sense, you haven't left the original place. As you're traveling, you can get lost. Where am I? But in reality, you haven't left the original place. This Inyan that you haven't left the original place, this is Ayin chochmah, and this comes from Havein b'chochmah, from the fact that in chochmah itself there is Inyan habinah.
What's the difference between?
One second. Havein b'chochmah, shezehu koyach hispashtus b'nekudas hachochmah. This is the koyach hispashtus that is contained in the Kudas HaChochmah. What is this principle? That within the Nekuda of Chochmah there is the element, the possibility of hispashtus. Of hispashtus means of spreading out, of accommodating, of identifying multiple elements. Because Nekuda is a hispashtus. Here are hispashtus. It would help us to understand this principle. This will help us to understand the chochmah in general. Like we point out all the time, chochmah, the mashal that we have for chochmah is re'iyah, is sight. Sight occurs in one instant, one glance. But in this one instant, in one glance, you're not seeing a narrow spot. You're seeing everything that's visible, everything that exists, that's present in front of you. Now, but you're seeing the reality itself. And you're seeing it because it's real, not because you've identified all the places, all the things that it exposes, it presents. How is it? And we said many times that in one instant you see a whole explosion. The answer, the explanation is, this will be a little challenging, but I have to get it. You're looking at the truth. Chochmah, that's in your chochmah, to relate and identify only with the pure truth. We always point out that everything is clear to everyone that truth and true are totally two different worlds. True refers to, true is an adjective. It describes a certain thing. This is true within a certain context. Truth has no context. Truth is the reality itself. As a matter of fact, truth is based on the nodah. We cannot even understand what truth is. We just know that there is such thing as truth. That's why we said chochmah is, I know that there is such thing, I think as truth exists. There's a first being. Do I understand that? That's why I have absolutely no comprehension of what that means. and yet this is something which I know, and I live with it. And this is, as a matter of fact, this knowledge of this truth, this is what enables me to leave this room and go into the street. I can't leave this room. This is the reality, and that's something else. No, it's all one reality. Because when I'm here, I'm not exclusively here. I'm in God's world, in God's reality. This is the principle of truth. Truth is not something that we can understand. So the principle of chochmah. Chochmah is that which relates exclusively to that reality, to that truth. Truth, on the one hand, there is no way for us to describe it. In other words, it's a nakuda. We see it in one instant. Because it's one. In other words, it is not something that has been built from various pieces, from various parts. That's why we see it in one instant. It's one nakuda. But this nakuda is limitless in terms of, if you want to expose what's in this nakuda, limitless. This is the truth. Not only does it have everything, it is the source of everything. This is called the koyach hispashtus of the Nekudas hasagah. Within this Nekudah of chochmah, in chochmah itself, there is the koyach hispashtus, which means the following. Okay. And I'm going to go back to the moshel of, I hope we don't lose it, moshel of sight. We explain all the time. How is it that we can experience such a phenomenal thing? In one instant we see a whole expanse, limitless. How is it? How can we relate to that? Why aren't we overwhelmed? The answer is because in this nakudah, this moment of sight, we are not seeing the things that we're seeing. We're seeing, as you said, we're seeing that these things, that there's a reality behind. We're seeing the reality itself. So why do we see the reality? The reality has no limit. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So we're not shocked at the time. Of course, it's all the same reality.
And the reality is nakuda.
The reality is a nakuda that is limitless. To comprehend, to relate to it is a nakuda. What's meant by nakuda? Nakuda means it's not something that's built from pieces. It's one nakuda. But this nakuda is real. What does it mean? It's everything. There is no limit to his hispashtus. This is called koyach hispashtus of the Nekudas. That is present within the chochmah itself. That's as we understand, as I point out, in sight. We're not seeing the things that we're seeing. We're seeing the reality behind it. Chochmah is likewise. This is chochmah. So there's no emotion on chochmah. Chochmah is where we actually relate to the reality, and as a result of that, there's everything there. But not that everything, as I said, each thing adds to it and becomes bigger and bigger. No, it's all coming from one nakuda. This is called koyach hispashtus because of chochmah. This koyach hispashtus because of chochmah. This is called hovein b'chochmah. This is the binah sheb'chochmah. And this is the facilitator for later on binah being developed. וגם כי מה שבו מבחינת הווה בחוכמה, שזה לוקח הספשטוס שבנקודת החוכמה. This לוקח הספשטוס that is within the נקודה of חוכמה. Okay. Now, this is what's called the binah shebechokmah. We call koyach in spatial becoming a chochmah. Rak, except if this koyach in spatials is already present in a kudas hachochmah, so what is this additional inyan? We say that in a kudas hatamtzis, the kudas hatamtzis that comes after the binah. Rak. So it's true that the Nekudas HaTamtzis is actually that is rooted in this koyach espashas of Nekudas HaChochmah from Rebbe chochmah, except Nekudas HaTamtzis he this Nekuda that comes at the end of the holy hasagah. It's called HaTamtzis, the final point. The keli le'etzem ha'chochmah. It's a keli to the etzem ha'chochmah. What means etzem ha'chochmah? Not to the binah shebechochmah. It's a keli to the chochmah itself, to the essence of the chochmah itself. What's etzem ha-chochmah? We are giving, going everywhere, so we're going weiter. Etzem ha-chochmah, in contrast to the nekudas ha-spashas b'chochmah. Etzem ha-chochmah, as we said, is not really a presence. This is the knowing that such a thing as the truth exists. That's what etzem ha-chochmah. This is really a nefesh. So nekudas ha-tamtzis bypasses the whole Hispashtus. Hispashtus was there before during the hasagah. The Nekudas HaTamtzis goes back, it's a keli to the etzem ha-chochmah, to the essential chochmah itself, to the nekuda of chochmah. The kasha ya migdaite be nekuda zu. That, which means, it's a keli to the etzem ha-chochmah, that when one focuses with his mind, be nekuda zu, in this nekudas HaTamtzis, Leida, to know, he investigates and he delves into it. What is the senior that he has identified in this Nekudas HaTamtzis? Yovoi lidei hisamtus be'etzem ha'inyan. Then he reaches the point lidei hisamtus. Hisamtus means substantiation. Verification. It comes to a sense of his verification. The etzem in the etzem ring. This is a deeper step. We always know very clearly that we can know things. And I know clearly, I see that this is how it is. His amtus is not merely this is how it is. His amtus means that there's a truth element in the fact that it is this way. Now, but this is the only way it should be. It's the only way for it to be. It has to be this way. I mean, his samtus. This his samtus and his samtus that it comes בעצם העניין, this is a phenomenal Inyan. And this is the great mile of hasagah that and we have the muscle of sight. And when you see something, it's as true as it can possibly be. Cannot be any doubt. I see it. But I see it, I don't know if you know, I see it because it is there, not because I see it. Therefore, to me, this is not real yet. It's real because of its own reality. It doesn't have a personal recognition of its truth. Not that I can doubt it, he saw it. But it's still a truth that has not found place in his own mind. It's not true to him. After hasagahs are Inyan, and he comes to Nekudas HaTamtzis, which Nekudas HaTamtzis is this phenomenal thing. It's a Nekuda, but he has a full comprehension of what's in this Nekuda. It's not Nekuda that he just came to see. It's a Nekuda that he has full comprehension of what's in this Nekuda. And then he is able to focus in and be misboin in this. Then he comes to see, to have a sense in his hasagah. His amtus in the Nekudas of Torah. He is substantiated in his own mind. Yes, this is true. To elaborate on this, it is clearly an extremely phenomenal thing. But one thing we have to, again, because of the foolish world we're in, we have to understand, our nefesh is true. The knowledge of truth is perfectly natural to us. You may not know it. You have to get to know it and reveal it. But truth in our nefesh, that's what nefesh is. Nefesh is the godly truth in the person. Therefore, he is misboinen in this nekuda, which is nekudas chochmah, and that's within the binah. Then that actually is yovli vehisamtus. Samtus means at this point, okay. Something at this point means like this. Throughout the whole process of chochmah and binah, I'm understanding, like we say, I'm observing. I see it's true, no question about it. His samtus is no longer observation. This is my truth. Not only do I no longer need any substantiation and proof, I don't even have to look at it. What do I see? That's what I see. Look at his samtus. Which means that he sees it now not with his koyach hasagah, not with his koyach chochmah, koyach binah. He sees within himself because this is his own truth. Let's read this out. We know that Yidden have the capability, the koyach of Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh, it should never, God forbid, be tested with it. But if we project Mesiras Nefesh, say, how is this possible? Under normal circumstances, can we project? Even when we have a smaller challenge, when we have, I'm hungry, and here this is a shayla food, but I'm hungry. It becomes a challenge, whatever it is. Mesiras Nefesh, literally, Mesiras Nefesh sounds like an impossible thing. It is true, it is impossible, based on what's called kochas hagluyim, on functioning kochas. Seichel and midas cannot relate to Mesiras Nefesh. Mesiras Nefesh is this inyan hayesamtus. It's a personal reality, which bypasses, okay, the entire observable reality. In other words, I know this reality not because I see a world and it's proved, therefore that I know there is a God who created the world. There's a direct line to it. He samtus in the a personal the truth. That enables the differentiation. Usually I'm mentioning with because we all know that such a koyach exists. How is it possible? That koyach bypasses the entire observable and conscious knowledge of the truth. There is a deeper knowledge of the truth than the conscious. And this is what comes after the hasagah, and after from the nekudas atamtzis. Then he comes to the he sometimes be'etzem Ayin, and this connects back to the etzem Ayin. This all phenomenon, even the inyan from the hisamtus, so forth. This is all rooted in binah shebechochmah. Because binah is fed off it. Avo bechinas etzem ha-chochmah. But the aspect of etzem ha-chochmah, dehinay, bechinas chochmah shebechochmah. The chochmah shebechochmah aspect, moved with be'erech me-hasagah, is totally remote from hasagah. V'kol shkei me-hamidas. And surely from midas.
You just said that the nekudas atamtzis is a kli le'etzem chochmah. And now we're saying that even the nekudas atamtzis it relates only to binah shebechochmah. How does that make sense?
The nekudas atamtzis is only binah shebechochmah, but through that he can come to his samtus, the etzem Ayin. Then that is really beyond that. The keil yesem ha-chochmah. Yesem ha-chochmah, moved up be'erech me-hasagah, is totally cannot be brought down in hasagah. The kol shkei me-hamidas, and surely it is moved up from midas.
But yet, when he has the nekudas atamtzis, this is a keli for this
It's
aspect.
a keli for this. Yes, it's a keli because within this there's the element of chochmah. If it's misboinen in this inyan, Joven included to the Samtus or here. Then brings a Samtus or here.
What makes it a keli for the etzem? Or should I not even go there?
Oh yeah, not right now.
Waters are too deep.
Huh?
Too deep. Waters are too deep right now. Stay on the surface.
This
This is beyond the Havana. This is his brainedness. This is his samkus. In Hamoka, you don't understand with the koyach habina. As I said, you understand with the truth of your own nefesh. It's a different kind of.
This Isamtus is when nefesh actually comes through the koich saguim, right? When it comes through, shines, whatever, through them.
Right.
And it links back to the etzem, and it links to the etzem chochmah. Etzem
Right.
chochmah is also part of that, part of that reality, inherent reality of a nefesh.
Right. Okay, like you said, we have to set a border. V'im came, and therefore, this whole discussion is for the purpose of bringing God the next slide. The conclusion. Iker bechinas hamoker lehishtalshus. The principle, bechinas hamoker, that which can be viewed and defined as the moker lehishtalshus, the source for hishtalshus. Hu bechinas habino, not chochmah. Even though that actually chochmah and binah, we said before, this is Ayin v'yesh, this is the moker, together they are the moker. But what actually provides the facility for hishtalshus is the binah element, not the chochmah. In the binah element there is the koyach ha-yispashus, that's in the kudas ha-chochmah. But it's the koyach ha-yispashus again because of chochmah, not the etzem ha-chochmah. All right. Ve'al kein, and therefore hahamshoch mehabino el hamalchus. Therefore, hamshoch, that which is drawn from bino into malchus, hu bivchinas brocha, goes into the category of brocha. What is brocha, as we said originally? I know hamshocha mehelem legilui bilvad, which means that this is hamshocha, not a new creation, not a yesh me'ayin of bria. It's a hamshocha mehelem legilui, from a concealed state into a revealed state. Because in bina there is also already the entire hispashtus that ultimately comes into malchus. Did I lose you? All right. So let's just refresh. This is going back quite some time, and even so to speak, geographically, it's pretty far behind.
Rabbi Paltiel,
Yes?
before you go forward, can I ask one question about the Chassidus of
Yeah, I'm not going forward. I'm actually going back.
Okay, but anyway, here's my
Way
question.
back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Essentially, you can't get to say the Hishtalshalis, to nodah, just from binah, unless the binah reaches the state of Nekudas Atamsis. Is that correct?
Okay. I mean, there's much to say about it, but it's correct. Go ahead.
Okay, so that, and in being misbinding in Nekudas Atamsis, this whole thing now is into a Nekuda. So his bindiness, real his bindiness is not in binah, is not in the, this is what's called his bindiness, once you get to the Nekudas Atamsis, and then you're misbinding in that?
No. His bindiness, the initial his bindiness is his bindiness in the binah, in the structure of binah itself.
And this helps you get to the Nekudas Atamsis?
Ultimately, it can help you bring a concept. But the principle of his bindiness that brings out nodah is from the binah directly. Because you have hasagah in the Ayin, and therefore this reflects itself in midas.
Where does this Atamsis fit into that transition?
Because of Tamsis, this is what we pointed out, that this is like the Inyan from Chassidus Nefesh. It's bringing the Inyan down to a much more fundamental level.
At one time, didn't we say somewhere along the line that the Nekudas Atamsis, this is like the Ubachain, or that's a totally different thing?
No. Nekudas Tamsis, this is the essence of the binah. It's not bechain.
Yeah, I'm through.
Okay, I wanted to remind us of the from Malchus, binah. I'm talking about binah and Malchus. This is similar to what we just finished talking about, these pashas and kera is pashas and kol. The union of Malchus and similarly binah is that Malchus has inherently the union of his pashtus. Like we do give our moshel from a human being. Every human being has a midas hamalchus. And where is it manifest? For example, in your own home. You have a home. So the Odom Sheni Beis you have your home. And the minute you own this home, every corner and everything that's in this home represents you. This thing that represents you, like we always say, in this home there's a space and whatever it is, but it's not just a space. And there is tables and chairs and there are all kinds of different things, the furnishings. Each one of these things are rooted in the reality of the person himself. Why is there a table? Because a human home has to have a table. It's not a circumstance that, oh, you have an empty house. Okay, so where are we going to sit? Let's put a chair in. It's not an addition to the principle of a home. It's a derivative. It's an actual expression of what a home is. Do I have that clear? This is not Malchus. Malchus has the full reality, but in full expression. That's Malchus. that full expression, excuse me, originates. This is why I say it's not an add-on, because it originates in binah. In binah. In binah there is a sense that reality, the human reality, is something that can be expressed, like they say, koyach ha'hispashus in chochmah. And therefore, okay, if I may connect it to, when one has a home, and in this home he has all kinds of different pieces of furniture. And we always say the following: if you were to give a person the Empire State Building as a personal dwelling, he would not be able to relate to it. He would not feel comfortable. Why? Practically speaking, he can do everything he wants, because it does not resonate in his binah, in his seichel. He can't comprehend it. He can't conceptualize it. This is not what he relates to as a home. So therefore, this malchus, the actual factual existence of a home, originates in his concept, in the binah. Except in the binah, this is behelem, and then in the malchus comes begin. And in fact, if a person should accept this inordinate type of a spread, it would not complement. It would not give him a sense of home. It would just draw him into a false world. There's an Indian that there is the hamshocha, the being from brocha, mamshech, from binah into malchus. This we always give the illustration from it. The Gemara says that a person by nature is never satisfied. Hayesh leimana reitzah mosayim. There's 100, he wants 200. Yesh mosayim. So if he has 200, he wants 400. If he has 400, he wants 800. So the question is, if 800 is a good thing, or 1600 is a good thing, why doesn't he want 1600 right away from 100, or before anything? The answer is that we're not talking about something that exists, that may be useful in some way. We're talking about something that the person wants, that the person can relate to. In order to relate to, he has to go through this process. If he has 100, then that can prepare him for 200. If he has 200, that can develop his mind for 400. If he has 400, he can develop his mind for 800. This is an interesting phenomenon in our world. There are people who have enormous wealth. In simple folks, it's like limitless. And they actually, like we have a Balei Tzedakah who commit themselves to doing all kinds of things. There's a person who gives for every shliach, when he makes a chassid, he gives him $5,000. They commit, but he doesn't count how many shluchim how many chassid it's going to be. He doesn't need to. And there are all kinds of different commitments that have no upper limit, and they can do it. And there are people who, when they get into wealth, they lose themselves. They lose themselves. You know what? They the first thing it comes out in the chutzpah. They have absolutely no apprehension. Was meant a rov, was meant nothing. They lose themselves completely. I myself witnessed somebody of that kind. He dropped something. He's going to bend down to pick it up. He's just stay there. So, Malchus is a wonderful thing, but it has to have Amshocha from binah, in terms of human terms. This is why he's saying that Amshocha from binah into Malchus is called broch, not in creation. It seems like a different world. You create things. In actual fact, it's not a creation. It's not called bria. It's called broch. Okay. This is the conclusion of what started way back when. This whole arichas came in order to explain this principle. Okay. Have a great day. We are closing shop for today.
Kitzer of the Mamurim is a Kitzer. Stand the Kudus.